The following podcast may not be for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
A sinister shadow fell over what should have been the most joyous morning of the year. While most families unwrapped presents and shared warm embraces on Christmas, a far more disturbing scene was unfolding, where ancient superstitions and familial bonds would twist into something unrecognizable. For Kristy Bamu and his siblings, December 25th wasn't about celebration. Instead, it became a day when their flesh and blood, consumed by the belief of malevolent spirits and dark forces, turned their world into a nightmare. Inside his sister's East London flat, a place that should have been a sanctuary, 15-year-old Kristy Bamu drew his final breaths. The concrete walls of this ordinary building held secrets that would shock a nation. It became not just the last place Kristy would ever see, but where Christmas lost its meaning forever. The story I'm about to tell you will haunt your dreams. Before we begin, I must warn you that what happened behind those apartment walls defies everything we believe about family, love, and humanity. This isn't just another true crime story with a twist. It's a gruesome descent into a profound and incomprehensible darkness that forces us to question everything we know about the people closest to us. Stay with me if you're prepared to enter one of the most disturbing chapters in modern-day London history. But remember, once you know this story, you can never unknow it. The darkness you're about to witness will follow you, perhaps forever. Kristy Bamu was 15, an age most children dream about their future. Instead, he became the center of a nightmare that would shake a city to its core. In December 2010, Kristy and 4 of his siblings were sent from their Paris home to spend the Christmas holiday with their sister, Magali, who was 29. Their parents did not accompany them. The trip unfolded like any other family excursion. 2 sisters, 2 brothers arriving without incident. But upon meeting their sister Magali and her boyfriend, 28-year-old Eric Bakubi, a sinister accusation emerged. Kristy and his sisters were accused of using witchcraft. The siblings vehemently denied the accusation, but Eric unleashed fury upon them. He subjected them to brutal beatings, starvation, and deprivation of sleep. Eric, a football coach, would bellow at Kristy, "Who's controlling you?" as if searching for a scapegoat amidst his twisted delusions. Eric and Magali believed the siblings had brought Kindoki into their home. Kindoki is a belief in malevolent spirit possession that has cast a long shadow over the Democratic Republic of Congo and the United Kingdom. Those accused of being Kindoki's victims are often subjected to brutal exorcisms. Children in particular bear the brunt of this twisted ritual, enduring beatings, water submersion, and starvation. This was the horrifying fate that awaited the 4 siblings. The night before Kristy's ordeal, all 4 siblings were compelled to pray and chant, as if to invoke the very evil they would soon be accused of harboring. When the brutal attacks on Kristy commenced, his own 3 siblings were forced to join in the assault. Their previous torture and beatings momentarily halted because they had admitted to witchcraft. At one point, Eric suspected that Kelly, one of Kristy's sisters, was faking her participation in the assault. His response was a twisted form of punishment, forcing a light bulb into her mouth and squeezing her throat while holding a knife to her chest. The message was clear. There would be no pretending, only the brutal enactment of his delusions. Forced to kneel, his head was smashed repeatedly with the floor tiles. Tools designed for creation were repurposed as instruments of destruction. A hammer was used to shatter his teeth and pliers to tear his ear from his skull. The horror was compounded by the cheer of his sister Magali as her boyfriend Eric unleashed his wrath. Amid this unimaginable agony, Kristy was forced to drink his own urine. His body broken, his spirit shattered. His pleas for death remained unanswered. His torment, a twisted testament to the evil that Kendoki had unleashed. At least 45 calls were made to the children's father. Pierre was in Paris and had received messages stating that the children were sorcerers. A call coming from Kristy came, begging his father to pick him up, or he would be killed. His father, Pierre, was in disbelief. He had never known his daughter Magali and boyfriend Eric to behave poorly towards the other children. Yet, even amidst this unrelenting horror, a glimmer of potential escape emerged. Eric, in a moment of calculated cruelty, told Pierre that if he didn't collect his children, he would slaughter them all. The threat hung in the air, a chilling reminder of the fate that awaited the children if they remained. Due to a heavy snowstorm, he could not make travel arrangements until December 27th. Though it was too late, around midday on Christmas Day, a badly injured Kristy was thrown into the bathtub. He was incredibly injured, weak, and unable to hold his head above water. Kristy eventually drowns. The remaining siblings were dragged to the tub, their bodies battered and bruised. A hose was turned on them, the icy water a stark contrast to the burning of their flesh. The tub overflowed, water flooding the flat and seeping into the dwellings below. This resulted in some outraged neighbors who pounded on the couple's door, demanding answers. The once contained nightmare was now spilling into the streets. The repercussions of Eric's twisted beliefs and actions, impossible to contain. As the flood persisted, a plumber was called. He arrived at Eric and Magali's flat, ready to stem the tide. But Eric, the master of this twisted domain, turned him away. The plumber, sensing something was amiss, alerted the authorities. Authorities arrived at the scene from a nightmare. Kristy's lifeless body bearing the hallmarks of unimaginable suffering. The tools of his destruction lay nearby, stained with his blood. Pliers, hammers, ceramic tiles, chisels, knives. Kristy had endured 101 injuries. His young body subjected to prolonged and calculated torture. His death was a grim testament to the evil that Kendoki had unleashed and the devastating consequences of blind belief and unchecked brutality. Once arrested, Eric Bakubi denied murdering Kristy. He stated he was suffering from schizophrenia and could not be held responsible for his actions. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Meanwhile, Magali Bamu, Kristy's sister, was sentenced to 28 years. She stated that she did not want to torture her siblings, but her boyfriend Eric forced her. During the trial, the judge made the statement, "The belief in witchcraft, however genuine, cannot excuse an assault on another person let alone the killing of another human being. Kristy's sibling Kelly stated that Kristy begged his sister Magali for help and forgiveness, but she did nothing to stop the torture. Yet these individuals genuinely believe the four siblings brought Kendoki witchcraft into their home? Or was mental illness a factor? This may just be left to the realms of the unexplained. Behind me, you're hearing the artist Ava Lowe with the track Reindeers and Tinsel. You can find this artist on Spotify. This tale has always terrified me. I wanted to chat more about Kendoki itself and explain its power in some of the areas of the world. In the shadowy corners of Central Africa, particularly in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it's a concept that challenges our modern understanding of reality. The Lingala people have a word that sends chills down the spines of anyone who knows its power. That's Kendoki. This ancient belief system, deeply woven into the Congolese society's fabric, transcends simple translation. While we may call it witchcraft, its true nature runs deeper and darker, flowing through generations like a river of whispered fears and desperate remedies. In the tangled forests and bustling cities of the Congo, where millions speak Lingala, Kendoki isn't just a belief. It's a force that shapes lives, destroys families, and sometimes leads to unthinkable acts in the name of salvation. Until we meet again, dear listeners, remember, in our vast world, some mysteries defy explanation, and some beliefs challenge our understanding of reality. Sometimes the darkest aspects of human nature arise not from malice, but from the desperate need to make sense of the unexplained realms.